A brave soldier went off to war, leaving his wife at home. While he was away, his wife began a relationship with another man. After some time, the soldier received a letter from her. The letter read, "I've forgotten you. Please forget me too." Devastated, the soldier cried over the betrayal. After the war ended, he chose to rebuild his life. He started a business and worked hard, eventually becoming very successful. One day, while enjoying his new mansion, someone knocked on the door. To his surprise, it was his ex-wife. She said, "I'm sorry for everything. I want to come back into your life. I still love you." The soldier looked at her and replied, "While I was fighting for us, you left me and told me to forget you. True love doesn't betray, but you did." A young man got a new car from his brother as a Christmas gift. On Christmas Eve, he went for a drive and stopped near a park. A little boy asked, "Is this your car, mister?" The young man proudly said, "Yes, my brother gave it to me for Christmas." The boy was amazed. "Wow, I wish." The young man expected him to say he wanted a brother like that, but the boy continued, "I wish I could be a brother like your brother." Touched, the man asked, "Would you like a ride?" "Yes, please," the boy replied excitedly. He asked to be driven home. When they arrived, he ran inside and came out with his disabled brother. "Look, this car is like I told you. One day I'll give you something like this." The young man helped the boy's brother into the car, and they all had a memorable ride. The man learned, it's more blessed to give than to receive. Once upon a time in a quiet village, there lived an old man named Tom. Tom had a small garden where he grew the most beautiful roses. Every day, he tended to his garden with love and care. One harsh winter, a young man named Jack, disheartened by life's struggles, visited Tom. "Why do you work so hard on these roses when winter will destroy them?" Jack asked. Tom smiled and replied, "My dear boy, it's not the end result that matters most, but the effort and love we put into our work. Life's hardships are like winter, but if we keep nurturing our dreams, spring will surely come." Inspired, Jack returned home, determined to face his challenges with renewed hope and dedication. And just as Tom's garden bloomed again in spring, Jack's life began to flourish. Jimmy lived in the city, but loved nature. For his son's birthday, he took his family and friends to a cottage near a forest to celebrate and enjoy the outdoors. When they arrived, Jimmy's 2-year-old son saw a small dog and gave it a biscuit. The dog became friends with the boy and stayed by his side all the time. On the third day, they celebrated the boy's birthday. The next day, the adults went hunting, leaving the baby with a babysitter. When Jimmy and his wife returned, they found the cottage empty and the dog with blood on its mouth. They thought the dog hurt the boy and started beating it. Just then, the babysitter returned with the unharmed boy. She explained that the dog had saved the child from a wolf. Everyone felt guilty for hurting the dog, and Jimmy cared for its wounds. The dog became part of their family. Moral: actions taken in anger can lead to regret. Sometimes we can make things right, but not always. Once, an old man saw a snake dying in the fire and decided to pull it out. When he did, the snake bit him, causing unbearable pain. He threw the snake away and it fell back into the fire. Then the old man grabbed a metal rod, pulled the snake out of the flames, and saved its life. One of the students who watched this respectfully turned to him. "Facta, the snake bit you. Why are you still trying to save her?" The old man replied, "The nature of reptiles is to bite, but this should not change my nature to help. Do not change your essence just because someone has hurt you. Do not lose your good heart, but learn to take precautions." Sarah and Mark seemed like the perfect couple. Mark was successful, and Sarah was a talented artist. But behind closed doors, Mark was cruel. He insulted Sarah's art, criticized her looks, and isolated her from friends and family. "You'd be nothing without me," he often said. Sarah felt worthless and stopped painting. Her once bright spirit was dimmed by Mark's harsh words. One night, after a particularly mean outburst from Mark, Sarah cried in front of her easel, realizing how unhappy she was. Determined to change, Sarah told her friend Emily about the abuse. Emily helped Sarah leave Mark and start therapy. Slowly, Sarah regained her confidence. She began painting again, filling her canvases with color and hope. Sarah's journey showed her that her worth wasn't defined by Mark's words, but by her own strength and creativity. Alex, a teenager, was always frustrated with his parents. He thought they were too strict and didn't understand him. He dreamed of freedom and independence. One day, after a big fight, Alex decided to run away from home. He packed his bags and left, eager to live life on his own. At first, he enjoyed his freedom, but soon he faced tough challenges, finding food, shelter, and feeling lonely. He began to miss the warmth and support of his home. He realized his parents' rules were to protect and guide him. Feeling regretful, Alex returned home. His parents welcomed him back with open arms, happy to see him safe. Alex apologized and thanked them for their love and care. He understood their guidance was love, not control. He appreciated his parents more and worked to improve their relationship. In a bustling city, a small, curious kitten named Whiskers found himself alone and lost. One rainy night, as Whiskers meandered through the cold, wet streets, he stumbled upon a dark alley. Frightened and shivering, he sought refuge in a cardboard box. Meanwhile, Emily, a kind-hearted woman who loved cats, noticed the little kitten while on her evening walk. She approached cautiously, her umbrella shielding the kitten from the rain. "Oh, you poor thing," she whispered, gently lifting Whiskers into her arms. Whiskers' heart raced, unsure of what to expect. Would this be the start of a loving home, or another cold disappointment? Emily took him home, dried him off, and fed him. Whiskers soon realized that sometimes life's greatest beginnings come from moments that seem like tragedy. His new life was filled with warmth, love, and endless purrs. In a bustling town, a merchant known for his beautiful shop and flashy clothes was admired by everyone. One day, a humble traveler arrived in town and noticed the merchant's extravagant display. Believing the merchant to be very wealthy and wise, the traveler sought his advice on success. The merchant, seeing an opportunity to impress, gave grand but shallow advice about wealth and power. The traveler left, feeling inspired but unsure. As time passed, the traveler encountered various people who offered simple, genuine advice, leading to real success. He later learned that the merchant's grand facade masked a lack of true wisdom. The traveler returned to the town and shared his story, teaching everyone that true value lies not in appearances but in genuine wisdom and integrity. In the land of Middle-earth, there were magical elves who lived in beautiful forests. These elves were known for their wisdom and kindness. One day, a human village nearby was in trouble. Their crops were failing, and they faced hunger. The elves decided to help. They used their magic to make the soil fertile and taught the villagers how to farm better. The humans were very grateful and invited the elves to a grand feast. The elves and humans celebrated together, strengthening their bond. From that day on, the elves and humans lived in harmony, helping each other in times of need. The elves' wisdom and kindness brought peace and prosperity to Middle-earth, reminding everyone that cooperation and goodwill could overcome any challenge. A little boy loved hearing stories about God and decided to meet God himself. He packed some of his favorite cookies and tea in a bag and began his journey. After walking a few blocks, he found a beautiful park and sat on a bench next to an elderly lady who was watching pigeons. The boy took out his cookies and tea, but noticed the lady looked hungry, so he offered her some. She accepted with a grateful smile. The boy was delighted. They spent the whole afternoon together, eating cookies and smiling without saying a word. As the sun set, the boy got up to leave, but then ran back to give the lady a big hug. She gave him the biggest smile ever. When the boy got home, he told his mother, "I had lunch with God today, and she has the most beautiful smile." Meanwhile, the elderly lady returned home, her face glowing with joy. Her son, curious, asked what made her so happy. She replied, "I had cookies and tea in the park with God, and you know he's much younger than I expected." A general was very good at chess. No one could beat him. One day, while he and his army were heading to war, they passed a small village. They saw a sign on a house that said, "#1 in chess in the whole country." The general didn't believe it and decided to play against the host. the host lost 3 times. The general laughed and said, "I'm taking down your sign," and went off to war. After winning the war, the soldiers returned and saw the sign was still up. The general, feeling confident, played the host again but lost 3 times. Surprised, the general asked why. The host replied, "The first time I didn't want to break your spirit before the war. Now, you've won the war, so I played my best." A truly good person knows when to win and when to show kindness. In life, it's not always about winning. Sometimes it's about understanding and supporting others. Once upon a time, a young artist lived in a small house, making a living by painting portraits. One day, a rich woman saw his beautiful work and asked him to paint her portrait for $10,000. A week later, she came to pick up the painting but decided she didn't want to pay the full amount. "This is me in the painting. If I don't buy it, who will?" she said. She offered only half the price. The artist was shocked but firm. "I can't sell it for less. You promised to pay the full price," he replied. "If you don't accept half, I won't buy it," she insisted. "To sell or not, it's up to you." The artist refused, saying, "One day, you'll pay 20 times more for this painting." Years passed, and the young artist became the world-famous Picasso. The rich woman, who had forgotten the incident, heard about an expensive painting titled "The Thief" that resembled her. The price was $200,000. Realizing her mistake, she apologized to Picasso and bought the painting. Picasso's determination and self-respect paid off. He taught her that self-worth cannot be compromised. A professor held up a glass of water and asked his students, "How much do you think this glass weighs?" The students guessed, 200 grams, maybe 300 grams. The professor said, "I don't know the exact weight, but that's not important. What will happen if I hold this glass for a few minutes?" "Nothing," the students replied. "And if I hold it for 2 hours?" "Your arm will start to hurt," a student answered. "What if I hold it all day?" "Your arm will go numb, and you may have to go to the hospital," another student replied. "Will the glass's weight change?" the professor asked. "No," the student said. "So what should I do?" "Put the glass down," a student suggested. "Exactly," the professor said. "Life's problems are like this glass. Think about them briefly. They're manageable. Think too long, they'll paralyze you. Solve the problem or put it aside." Once, a rich man gave a beggar a basket full of garbage. The beggar smiled at him and left with the basket. He shook out the garbage, cleaned it, and then filled it with beautiful flowers. He returned to the rich man and returned the basket to him. The rich man was surprised and asked, "Why are you giving me this basket full of beautiful flowers if I gave you garbage?" And the beggar replied, "Each person gives to another what they have in their heart." One day, an old wise man said to his friend, "Look around this room and remember all the brown things." The friend looked and saw many brown things, easily completing the task. Then the wise man said, "Now close your eyes and name all the blue things." The friend was confused and upset. "I didn't notice anything blue because I was focused on the brown things." The wise man smiled and said, "Open your eyes and look around. There are many blue things in the room." The friend looked and saw that this was true. The wise man then said, "If you only look for bad things in life, you will only see and remember them. But if you look for good things, you will find them too." In a small village, Ella was known for her kindness. She always helped her neighbors, sharing food and lending a hand whenever needed. One harsh winter, a snowstorm hit the village, leaving many people stranded and cold. Ella, despite having little herself, welcomed everyone into her home. She offered them warmth, food, and comfort. One day, a wealthy merchant, who had never helped others before, arrived at her door. He was amazed by Ella's generosity and the gratitude of the people she had helped. Moved by Ella's kindness, the merchant decided to contribute generously to the village and began helping others regularly. Ella's actions taught him that true wealth comes from being kind and helping others. Her simple acts of kindness changed not just her village, but also inspired a man to make a difference. Make your day better by liking and sharing the video you are watching. Once, a wise king needed to find a successor. He called all the children in his kingdom and gave them each a seed. He announced, "Whoever grows the best plant in 6 months will be the next king." A boy named Sam took the seed home and planted it. He watered it every day, but it didn't grow. He saw other children with tall, beautiful plants and felt disheartened. When the 6 months ended, Sam brought his empty pot to the palace, ashamed. The king looked at all the pots and smiled at Sam. He said, "All the seeds I gave were boiled and couldn't grow. Sam is the only one who was honest. He shall be the next king." Sam's honesty and integrity made him worthy of the throne, teaching that truth always prevails. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds of our time, had a remarkable journey. Despite being diagnosed with ALS and given only a few years to live, he defied the odds and continued to contribute to science for decades. His perseverance and brilliant work in theoretical physics and cosmology inspired millions. Near the end of his life, Hawking shared some profound words of wisdom. Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. And however difficult life may seem, there is always something you can do and succeed at. It matters that you don't just give up. His message was clear. Embrace curiosity, keep exploring, and never lose hope, no matter the challenges you face. There was a blind girl who hated herself just because she's blind. She hated everyone except her loving boyfriend. He's always there for her. She said that if she could only see the world, she would marry her boyfriend. One day, someone donated a pair of eyes to her, and then she can see everything, including her boyfriend. Her boyfriend asked her, "Now that you can see the world, will you marry me?" The girl was shocked when she saw that her boyfriend is blind too, and refused to marry him. Her boyfriend walked away in tears, and later wrote a letter to her saying, "Just take care of my eyes, dear.